till I reach the top somehow.
Yes, my Straight Talk family, whenever you hear that theme song, you know it's time for me to say greetings to the world, because we are on the World Wide Web and we reach and we communicate with you all over the globe. It is always an imperative for me to first and foremost say good night to St. Kitts and Nevis, and good night to the entire Caribbean region. And for those of you in the Kittitian division and Caribbean diaspora, I say greetings one more time. And I know that some of you are in Africa. There are some of you in Europe. There are some of you in Asia. And there are a whole lot of you all over North America. So I'm at liberty to say good night. I will say good morning. And I will also say good afternoon, because one of such greetings will be applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves. And if you're a first-timer, I say welcome, a special welcome to you, and I trust and hope it will not be your last time. And for those who continue to share the link, I am eternally grateful, and I say, please don't stop sharing that link. But for those first-timers in particular, we must inform you that Straight Talk is a public service program that facilitates and promotes free, underline free expression on all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On Straight Talk, we do have a forum to express yourselves freely. Let us, in the process, understand that on this program we try as well to raise the level of national, regional, and international consciousness. We try to raise the level of national, regional, and international discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. My name is Ian Patches Liebert, and I give Almighty God thanks for blessing me with yet another opportunity to join with you in conversation on yet another occasion. And I always like to pledge, for you first timers in particular, that I will remain an untiring advocate of truthfulness, and always reminded of the words of a favorite hymn of mine written by Thomas Jackson, yes, and Franz Joseph Haydn. And an excerpt goes something like this: we are called to be God's prophets, speaking for the truth and for the right, bringing, or rather standing firm for godly justice and bringing all those evil things to light. So let us seek the courage needed our high calling to fulfill, that we all may know the blessing of the doing of God's will. So my Straight Talk family, I can reassure you that absolutely nothing is watered down on this program to make it more interesting, not by omission nor by exaggeration, because straight talk is not about sensationalism. We're not about creating excitement, especially at the expense of accuracy, because we lean on the facts. And I will hasten to tell you as well that it is my bounden duty to present the unvarnished truth, I call it, the plain truth, especially when it comes to governance, transparency, integrity, and morality, and all that goes with it, my Straight Talk family. Especially when it comes to governance in St. Kitts and Nevis, in the region, and in the diaspora, wherever you are in the world, because this program joins us together with people across the Federation. We are joined with people in the diaspora all around the world, and some we know very well and have met. Some we do not know and may never ever meet. And I do mean physically, because many of us we meet spiritually, I'm sure. And some will agree with the truth that we try to always advance on this program, and some will disagree. And that's understandable, because we are a different people and we'll have our different views. And we promote what I call a diversity of views right here on Straight Talk. But it would sadden me if some of us, or whenever some of us, become disagreeable. So let's thank Almighty God nonetheless for helping us to understand, oh, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. Let's therefore hope and pray for that day when we will all sing his praise together. So welcome again, my people, and thank you one more time for those who share the link. As you bring first-timers, please continue to do so. I must always remind you, especially the first-timers, that Straight Talk is a participative program. By that I mean we include your calls, We include your emails. And if you're so minded calling, the numbers are on your monitors. If you, like some who want the cloak of anonymity, as I call it, you don't want to be heard. And that's obvious because we're living in an environment here where some people get offended easily, even though we speak the truth, and some go beyond being vindictive. So yes, you have to indemnify yourself, you have to protect yourself, yes. So we give you access via our email platform, and that address is also on your screens, straighttalkpatches@gmail.com. That's one word, Straight Talk, STRAIGHTTALKPATCHES@gmail.com. And Straight Talk is also heard live on Alexa. Those who have access to Alexa, you know, all you have to do is say, Alexa, play Massive Vibes Radio. We thank Massive for continuing to give us access to your platform, the Alexa platform, at a modest cost, I should say. Some of you have made donations to support our efforts here on Straight Talk. For that, I say a big thank you. I must also reassure you that no matter what your contribution, please don't stop, because it helps to continue this important service. And yes, it's a public service. Others who may wish to donate can simply scan the code on your screen. You'll access a payment form, and the process, very, very simple process, takes you a few minutes, and it's highly confidential. So we thank you again for your support and for helping us to keep the dialogue alive. I always must, I have to hail and welcome my junior brigade, young Dwayne, Tristan, Jasmine, Shama, Kevin, Rue, Jamal, Travis, Chavon, my grandson Neymar and his good friend Soraya, Elizabeth, and I can never ever forget that special lady in St. Louis. And I also met a lady, Carla. She asked me to give her a hail up each time. So Carla, trust you are logged in, logged on. We normally move to our observations in review, our first step forward. And that's a time when we highlight the current issues, we do some reflection, we ask a few questions. What was accomplished? How it helped others? What changed since? What is expected next? And what new we have learned as a people, because it's a learning process, believe me. Never too old to learn. And after our observations in review, we will move to our thesis for tonight, which I have titled Frigate Belan, Sanctioned Rape of CBI Money. It's going to be interesting, I can assure you, my Straight Talk family. And we'll have to uncover some facts, real facts. CBI money, yes, Frigate Belan, sanctioned rape of our CBI money. But first of all, on a sad note, we found out about the passing of our stalwart Carl Louise Liburn. Carl, who in fact served one time, I remember, as a magistrate in the Bastia jurisdiction, medium fast bowler, former president of the St. Kitts Cricket Association, and also president of the St. Kitts and Nevis Football Association. He's also an accomplished referee, commentator. Carl was a man of everything. And he has gone to the great beyond, and we extend condolences to his children. Chidi, I haven't seen Chidi for some time, his daughter. I've been struggling to remember the names of his sons, forgive me. But of course, we extend condolences to his sister, Dame Marcella Althea Liburn, our Governor General. Also the big JL, Clement Jr. Liburn. We extend condolences to his extended family, his sister, and Tony, and the whole Liburn clan. And we can say anything, my Straight Talk family, but it was Jimmy Cliff who sang, "Who feels it knows it." And all I can say is that death is a process. So for all those who have lost loved ones who I may not have heard of, we extend our condolences to the families, and we hope and pray that they would all, the departed ones would all rest in eternal peace. And moving to our first observation, my Straight Talk family, I and how did I forget to post the picture of Carl Liburd, handsome young man, isn't he? Right? But he is now gone to the great beyond, like I said, and we trust and pray that he would rest in eternal peace. My departed brother, my family, dear cousin Carl. Our first observation, I was doing some reflection and doing some research as well. I enjoy researching. And I came across this just this morning, my Straight Talk family.
We were told when we got into office that we wouldn't last 6 weeks, then 6 months. Now I'm hearing them say we won't last 20 years. The truth is that those opposed to this new paradigm never quite understood what we were seeking to achieve. And what we were seeking to achieve is bigger than any individual. In fact, there is some evidence to sustain that, because when Team Unity was formed and came together, the Honorable Vance Amory, senior statesman, was leading the CCM team. He passed over to me. And there was no relaxation in the enthusiasm for Team Unity. And so even through that transition, we recognize that the Concerned Citizens Movement as a political party on the island of Nevis remained committed to this ideal. Because I will tell you candidly, we have seen what the other side looks like, and it has not been pleasant for Nevis. And we have now seen what Team Unity looks and feels like, and we like it. We like it.
And my Straight Talk family, sometimes I reflect and when I listen to these videos or sound bites, sometimes I ask myself, what in fact does Brantley say when he himself hears them? Here's his past comments like that one I just played. But having heard this and many other comments coming from Mark Brantley, and having also had a close-up view of Brantley being in a cabinet with him for 5 long years, he sat across the table in that cabinet room from me. And I have learned, I can tell you, to accurately assess the man. And it is for this and many other reasons I predict that Terence Michael Drew is next in line to feel the wrath of this man. You heard him speak about getting the baton from Vance Winkworth Emery. His soul rests in peace. But he took down the late Vance Winkworth Emery. Before that, he took down Denzel Llewellyn Douglas. You remember Denzel, what you call him. Then he took down Timothy Sylvester Harris. And believe me, now is the turn for Terence Michael Drew. Because Mark Anthony Graham Brantley, as I said before, and I'll repeat it tonight, he will out anybody's light so that his light can shine. You've heard him now taking a detour, trying to distract us away from the destiny disaster in Nevis. But all I can say is beware and keep focus to my fellow Nevisians. Our second observation, again, or this time, refers to Terence Michael Drew in his capacity as Minister of Finance. And he has racked up year after year debt. And he now has an accumulated deficit, as intimated by Sean Richards just at the budget session in December, over $700 million, almost three quarters of $1 billion or $1 billion. My Straight Talk family.
For the year 2024, Parliament approved an expenditure budget of $1.09 billion, which included $33 million in debt repayment. Revenue for the year was estimated at $1.14 billion, and this included the sale of government lands, which was budgeted to bring in $15 million. During 2024, a further $177 million of expenditure was approved by supplementary appropriation warrants. As at December 31st, 2024, actual revenue totaled $807 million, and actual expenditure amounted to $1.069 billion, which resulted in an end-of-year deficit of $261 million. So, Madam Speaker, when you look at all three documents, 2024, 2025, and 2026, we're seeing massive budget deficits. If you total them, Madam Speaker, you're speaking of approximately $708 million, almost $250 million in budget deficits in 3 short years, 2024, 2025, and 2026 deficits.
Almost 3/4, correction, of $1 billion in 3 years. And this is obviously negatively impacting the government's cash flow, which is so bad that in the second month of the fiscal year 2026, second month almost complete, yet no allocations have been made to the ministries. Not one ministry has received an allocation. So no bills are being paid. And Terence Michael Drew was forced to recall Financial Secretary Mrs. Hilary Hazel, a model civil servant, I can tell you, who had already exited the service and moved on to her well-deserved retirement. Street Talk understands that Mrs. Hazel has been brought back as supernumerary, I think it's called, within the Ministry of Finance, no doubt to help the new Financial Secretary Pogson, a banker who has plunged himself into some very deep waters. No money, as I said, was released to various departments and no allocations for 2026 to date, as Terence Michael Drew has recklessly spent all the money in the Treasury. We understand that Amerijet has been forced to refuse acceptance of U.S. mail from the General Post Office that is normally shipped every Wednesday. We haven't checked for yesterday, but we know that Amerijet again refused the mail last Wednesday. Its courier service, the U.S. mailbox, has also been affected as Amerijet continues to reject these shipments to and from St. Kitts after, for some time, they have not been paid by the government. Monthly mail dispatched to Europe, Canada, United Kingdom, and the Caribbean have also been affected. So if you're not getting your mail, it's because the airlines are not accepting mail for St. Kitts and Nevis because they are not being paid. And we understand that the Treasury has made no allocations, or the Ministry of Finance, let me put that right, has made no allocations to date to the ministries in government. But Straight Talk continues to follow this development and will keep you posted, my people. And my third observation, I must recognize that my fellow Newtowner, Earle Clarke, was recognized posthumously, I think that's the right term. And the Newtown Community Center was renamed yesterday in his honor and renamed to the Earle Clarke Community Center. And my Straight Talk family, that's good, very good, except we hope that some of our stalwarts can get their honors while they're living and not when they die. But yes, we can see the Earle Clarke Community Center being renamed. You understand, 2 sections in that area have been also renamed in honor of, Lloyd Lazar, former permanent secretary, and someone else who has not come to mind at this moment. But those are my observations tonight, my Straight Dog family. And we move right on to my thesis, which I have titled, as I said, Frigate Bay Land Sanctioned Rape of CBI Money. And on Thursday, February the 12th, last week, Thursday to be exact, during the first sitting of Parliament for the year, the Terence Michael Drew administration announced what it called a landmark agreement that allows the state to now hold full ownership of 77.23 acres of prime land in the Frigate Bay area and its environs, Earle Mons, Bird Rock, and Frigate Bay Heights. Now let us provide some background in relation to Frigate Bay and government planning. And for those who may be pondering. Frigate Bay is an area southeast of Basseterre on the main island of St. Kitts. And it includes two adjacent bays on the Atlantic side and on the Caribbean side. On the Atlantic side, just beyond or before and beyond the Marriott Hotel. And on the Caribbean side, where we have the bars that we call the Strip. But it has become one of the island's key tourism and residential development zones. Prior to government involvement, much of the Frigate Bay estate, as it was called back then, was privately owned by the Wigleys, to be exact, and its principal economic activities were limited to salt mining. Remember that salt pond, big salt pond that's still there, but is not producing salt. But there was salt mining and grazing of animals, cattle, sheep, goats. That's what happened over there at Frigate Bay until the acquisition and government vision from 1972 and beyond. In 1972, the Bradshaw government acquired approximately 850 acres of land at Frigate Bay. And that same year, established by law the Frigate Bay Development Corporation through an act of parliament. The Frigate Bay Development Corporation Act, sorry, to be exact. And this statutory body, which is wholly owned by the state, was given the mandate to manage and develop the said land at Frigate Bay for tourism, residential, and for commercial purposes. The creation of the corporation marked the beginning of a major state-led tourism development initiative. The government's goal was to diversify the economy beyond sugar and stimulate growth in a new sector. Under Robert Bradshaw's leadership, first as chief minister and then as premier between 1967 and 1978, along with Caleb Azariah Paul Southwell, then Minister of Tourism and one-time Minister of Finance as well, and one-time Chief Minister and Premier himself. And Bradshaw went on to the West Indies Federation in 1962, I believe it was. But the government pursued an active role in land acquisition and economic planning. While Bradshaw is most widely noted for nationalizing the sugar estate lands in the mid-70s, in 1975 to be exact, his government acquired the Frigate Bay estate from private owners for development, the Wigleys, as I mentioned earlier. But he did this amid considerable political resistance at the time. The emphasis was on transforming lands previously under limited private use into areas that could be developed for hotels, golf courses, residential lots, and tourism infrastructure. And this was part of a broader strategy to build a tourism economy. I recall one of the Bradshaw's strategy was to waive the alien landholding rights or licenses for anyone purchasing or doing business in the Frigate Bay area. But there were many development milestones in the 1970s, because following the 1972 establishment of the Frigate Bay Development Corporation, the government began planning and allocating land for mixed uses including residential areas, commercial tourism facilities, and a golf course. And by the mid-1970s, the development drive had gathered pace. Investment negotiations and planning got underway, and the Bradshaw government itself built the Royal St. Kitts Hotel and the golf course. An early anchor for tourism. This project was an early anchor for tourism, or I should say, for land-based tourism. Land parcels were categorized for specific uses. As I said, residential, commercial, recreational. But when government changed in 1980, the management of the hotel was changed as well. I remember it was Spadaro, the owner, or the manager there at the Royal St. Kitts Hotel, was declared persona non grata by the PAM NRP government. And Spadaro went to St. Martin and literally developed tourism in St. Martin. All those hotels in proximity to the Juliana Airport in St. Martin were built by Spadaro. So St. Kitts missed out. Nonetheless, Archie Zuliani took over the management of the hotel, and years after, there was a mysterious fire that literally destroyed the hotel. The hotel was then sold to Zuliani for $20 million, if my memory serves me well. And curiously, all the insurance monies were made payable to the buyer of the hotel, Archie Zuliani. Since that time, the now famous Royal St. Kitts Jacta Hotel has remained in private hands. And what was the long-term significance of this? The Frigate Bay development, or the Frigate Bay land acquisition and development, laid foundational work for St. Kitts' later tourism boom, especially significant given that tourism had become the cornerstone of the economy in the decades after independence. The Simmonses and the Douglases governments continued to build on this early strategy, reaffirming the importance of state ownership of the Gulf Coast lands and strategic planning in the Frigate Bay area. While specific contract details are not in the public domain, Straight Talk is aware that a long-term lease or operating agreement was negotiated under the Denzel Douglas administration around 20 years or more ago, giving Marriott or an affiliated entity, the Frigate Bay Gulf Limited, the rights to manage and operate the Royal St. Kitts Golf Course as part of the resort amenities. As part of that, Marriott would have been responsible for course maintenance, for staffing, marketing to resort guests, and potentially certain capital investments like a golf clubhouse that was constructed. But Drew, for some reason or reasons unknown, always attempts to mislead us. And Drew told us this, my Straight Talk family. He said this to the country.
There are some real achievements in procuring or getting this Frigate Bay land. Now, this agreement that we had to purchase and to acquire the Frigate Bay land brings 77.23 acres of prime Frigate Bay land into full state ownership, along with the golf course lands, the golf clubhouse, and its operating company. So everything is now under the ownership of the government. So we know that there was an agreement with of course, a company to manage the golf course, which is in association with Marriott. That agreement had part most of the golf course. The last 3 holes, that land that was in that agreement only accommodated 15 holes. The last 3 holes did not belong to the state. The last 3 holes to make it an 18-hole course was privately owned. We have now acquired that. So we have acquired a total of 77.23 acres of new prime land in Frigate Bay.
My straight talk family, just for accuracy and just to ensure that the facts are imparted, the Frigate Bay Development Corporation never parted, as Dr. Joe is suggested, never parted with any Gulf Coast lands. The corporation retained the underlying land ownership of the Gulf Coast, never parted ownership of the 15-hole Gulf Course. It was when the agreement was signed. With the agreement structured to support broader tourism, infrastructure, and economic growth. And yes, the Gulf Coast can be seen, the different holes, and the 3 holes were close to the Koi Hotel that you can see there in the background. Those 3 holes were developed on private land, I believe owned by Zuliani, I beg your pardon, by Vic Dzeng. But as I said, the Gulf Coast lands, original lands covering 15 holes, never left the ownership of the Frigate Bay Corporation and by extension, the government. However, the 77.23 acres of land acquired with the Gulf Coast or the Gulf Clubhouse and its operating company comprised of 16.10 acres that included the 3 northern holes as intimated earlier by Straight Talk family. The 3 northern holes you can glean from your screens, overlooking the Half Moon Bay that were privately owned and adjacent to the Koi Resort in your background there, and the 13.16, beg your pardon, acres of vacant land west of the coast overlooking Half Moon Bay that were privately owned. The other parcel of land, 47.97 acres, is not, underlined, is not situated on the Gulf Coast. Let me repeat that. The 47.97 acres of land is not situated on the Gulf Coast, but in fact, it's situated between the Frigate Bay Road, on the Frigate Bay Road, Earle and Bird Rock Heights. And if you're going to Frigate Bay, you can see that like a little quarry on your right or left if you're coming back. I think just because Race Course or something like that. Those lands are where the 47.9 acres are situated or located. And Drew spoke about breaking down barriers. And Drew was not telling us the facts as usual.
What is this going to do? We intend there will be a 47.97 acre parcel. We will use some of that, subdivide it into residential and commercial lots with a clear focus on providing young citizens access to land ownership. So this move is to get our people to be able to build in Frigate Bay. So I want our people to understand that we are going to create this scenario. What we want to do is break down barriers and any issue that people might raised with respect to. Over here is for a certain set of people and over there for a next set. We are eliminating that, and we'll make lots available for our ordinary people here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So if you have a young professional, doesn't matter which part of the country they may come from, they have the opportunity to own land in Frigate Bay, prime land that we have acquired and we will make available.
My Swedok family, again, that parcel of land, as stated earlier, is not in Frigate Bay, but at Earle and Boardwalk Heights. So if anyone is creating barriers, it's true. He's not breaking down barriers, he's creating barriers. And my Swedok family, the lease or management period ended after Frigate Bay Development Corporation and government renegotiated and acquired the married shares in Frigate Bay Gulf Limited as part of the recent transfer of full ownership and control to the government of the lands mentioned above. But my Straight Talk family, here comes Terence Michael Drew in his usual style and his usual mood of fabrication, and told us that the agreement required no direct financial outlay by the government. And he went on to tell us that the government bought all of this 77.3 acres for less than 800 shares or units. My Straight Talk family, he said this.
Control. We got 77 acres plus of prime land, including the golf course and the dome. And when I look at this and I think about the prison project, where 5,500 were used in our CBI program, where they call them units as shares, to build a prison. And with 1/7 of that, 1/7 of that, we were able to acquire the golf course out of the agreement, but that was an agreement which, was with the government. But the new land, 77 plus acres of some of the best land in St. Kitts and Nevis, including the dome and the golf house. One has.
I'm going to replay that for clarity, my Straight Talk family.
And I was transparent with this, we bought all of this through our CBI program with less than 800 shares. So we got out of the agreement to get the golf course under our total control. We got 77 acres plus of prime land, including the golf course and the dome. And when I look at this and I think about the prison project, where 5,500 were used in our CBI program, where they call them units as shares, to build a prison. And with 1/7 of that, 1/7 of that, we were able to acquire the golf course out of the agreement, but that was an agreement which, was with the government. But the new land, 77 plus acres of some of the best land in St. Kitts and Nevis, including the dome and the golf house. One has.
My Straight Talk family, Terence Michael July is, we know by now, obsessed with the prison project. And like him, I can say I was concerned and I never heard justification for the 5,500 shares. I will say that. I would not be afraid to say that. But what bothers me is that Terence Michael July actually signed over 20,000 certificates of registration that gets to the passports from the said project. He did. So my Straight Talk family, I implore you, do not be fooled. And I will tell you why. I will tell you of the total misuse and abuse, or rather the illegal use of the CBI. Now, if you acquire the land, obviously compensation must be paid. But instead of compensation being paid to the Royal St. Kitts group of companies for acquiring 77.23 acres of land, a deal was structured through the issuance of some 725 public benefit units under the Citizenship by Investment Program, the CBI. Why couldn't he say that? He said less than 800. Yes, it's less than 800. But be transparent, Terence Drew. 725 public benefits units were issued. And what is this St. Kitts CBI program? For those who may be joining us for the first time or hearing it for the first time, and for those who may need a reminder, we must know by now that the government of St. Kitts and Nevis operates one of the world's oldest citizenship by investment programs, if not the oldest, which was launched in 1984. It allows nationals to obtain citizenship in exchange for a significant financial contribution to a state fund or investment in approved real estate or public benefit projects. Some argue that the program brings in vital foreign exchange. Of course it does. When Jude took office, he got $688 million in fees. It funds infrastructure, schools, hospitals, and it helps in hurricane recovery. Remember, every single one got a roof repaired right around the country. What about intergenerational justice, patrimony? Because when critics use language like rape of our patrimony, they are expressing a moral claim about inheritance, as patrimony implies a shared national birthright, something preserved for future generations, a collective good not reducible to monetary value. But the ethical concern here is, and the question is asked, are our present leaders converting long-term national identity into short-term revenue? This is similar to debates over selling natural resources, granting long leases of public land, privatizing public goods. The moral lens become intergenerational. And we ask the question, will future citizens inherit strengthened infrastructure or diluted identity and reputational risk? Under the public benefit option, the PBO, within the St. Kitts and Nevis Citizenship by Investment Program, a share is defined as a unit of investment. It should represent a contribution toward a project that provides substantial public benefit, such as infrastructure, healthcare, or local employment, my Straight Talk family. And there's a definition that we accept as the PBO, and I post that on your monitors. What is the public benefit option? We can read that together. The public benefit option provides the government of St. Kitts and Nevis with a reliable way to achieve its capital investment goals while fostering economic growth, qualified investors can contribute to significant projects that benefit the nation. And the eligible project types are listed here: industrial development, construction of real estate on state land, real estate development transferred to state ownership, projects with substantial local impact, such as employment and skills development. So my Straight Talk family, start asking the question, how this arrangement of buying back our lands became a PBO. Because the legislation that governs the CBI stipulates quite clearly the requirements that every public benefactor has to meet under this option. That again is on your monitors, on your screens. And from the Citizenship by Investment Act, Part 7, Public Benefit Option, Clause 23, Subsection 1. We can read that together, my Straight Dog family. And I quote, where any person or entity wishes to A, develop an industry, B, finance the construction of a real estate development project on state land, C, construct a real estate development project on land to be transferred to the state, or observing, or otherwise, beg your pardon, or C, otherwise bring some substantial benefit to the people of St. Christopher and Nevis. That person or entity shall apply to the Board of Governors to be designated as an approved public benefactor. 2, an approved public benefactor must, by his or her or its project, A, bring substantial benefit to the people of St. Christopher and Nevis. B, maximize local employment. C, embark upon programs including transfer of technology and local capacity building. And D, assume all financial risks involved with the project. That's very important. Assume all financial risks involved with the project. Assume all financial risks involved with the project. That's for the PBO. My Straight Talk family, the key characteristics of a PBO, a public benefit option share: the minimum investment as of 2025 to 2026. Each main applicant must invest a minimum of US $250,000 per unit or share in an approved project. The project types and these shares fund specific government-endorsed developments, including infrastructure, such as the expansion of the Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw International Airport, which is pending, the Barcy High School, which is also pending, and the Creative Arts Center, that too, which is also pending. But we have not heard till this day how many shares have been allocated for each of these PBOs. And that's not what transparency is all about. There must be public scrutiny. There's social housing, the construction of affordable housing in partnership with the National Housing Corporation, the NHC, has started. But my Straight Talk family, the public benefit option is often described as a contribution-based model. While it is a unit of a project, my Straight Talk family, it is primarily the mechanism used to fund the compensation for the 77 acres of land acquired according to Terence Michael Jew.
There are some real achievements in in procuring or getting this frigate bay land. Now, this agreement that we had to purchase and to acquire the frigate bay land brings 77.23 acres of prime frigate bay land into full state ownership, along with the golf course lands, the golf club house, and its operating company. So everything is now under the ownership of the government. So we know that there was an agreement with, of course, a company to manage the golf course, which is in association with Marriott. That agreement had part most of the golf course. The last 3 holes, that land that was in that agreement only accommodated 15 holes. The last 3 holes did not belong to the state. The last 3 holes to make it an 18-hole course was privately owned. We have now acquired that. So we have acquired a total of 77.23 acres of new prime land in Frigate Bay.
My Shredog family, there's an ethical debate around the CBI program in St. Kitts and Nevis. And it goes far beyond economics. And it continues with this recent fraudulent and corrupt execution of this land deal with the Marriott at Frigate Bay. At its core, it touches identity, sovereignty, equality, and intergenerational justice. Citizenship, right, privilege, or commodity. And I'm not even bothered by the ethical tension. And questions are asked, for example, is citizenship something that should ever be sold? And don't tell me that it happens all over, in Canada, the USA, or wherever. Traditionally, citizenship is tied to birth, long-term residence, and integration, shared history, culture, and civic participation. But when citizenship is granted primarily for capital contribution, it becomes a market good. And this raises the concern that wealth becomes a shortcut to belonging. The ethical question becomes, is it morally acceptable for financial capacity to replace integration, cultural connection, or contribution to labor and civic life? What of the symbolic meaning? Beyond policy mechanism, or beyond policy mechanics, I should say. Citizenship has symbolic weight. It defines who we are. It signals belonging, and it anchors our national stories. When citizenship is monetized, critics feel that symbolic meaning shifts from shared identity to transactional exchange. And you spoke about transparency, not valuation transparency, because the questions arise. Was the 77.3 acres independently valued? Was the valuation consistent with market rates? Were the 725 shares issued at the fair and documented basis? Today, my Stray Dog family, we are confronted with a transaction so staggering, so brazen, that it shakes the very foundation of public trust. Imagine 77.3 acres of private land that does not belong to the politicians, but to private interests, now belonging to the people, but exchanged for 725 shares, priced at $250,000 US per share. Did you hear me, my Stray Dog family? I'll put this on your monitors, on your screens. The Frigate Bay Development Acquisition, 77.23 acres of land were acquired. The compensation was at 725 CBI shares, priced at US $250,000 per share. But that equates, my straight dog family, to $250 million, my straight dog family. That is the valuation of over $2 million per acre, my straight dog family. The valuation of the land, look at it. 181 million divided by 77.23. And you know maths is my strongest weak point. That equates to 2.35 or 6.35 million EC dollars per acre. Do you believe that, my straight dog family? Do you believe that? And I tell you, my straight dog family, Jew tries to convince you and I that he did that in the name of ordinary people. But let's be fair. Let's just deduct $81 million for the clubhouse, the dome, old galvanized shed, and the shares. Let's just deduct that. $81 million, that's US dollars at that, for those three assets. And we get 100.3 US million dollars. And that equates, my straight dog family, that equates to $1.3 million per acre. $1.3 million per acre. And this is what a rip-off, another scam in the Terence Michael Jew cabinet. A big rip-off, my straight dog family. A scam in the Terence Michael Jew cabinet. One more. How can the government give Marriott shares for a golf course the government already own? The deal with Marriott gets 60% from all fee to manage the golf course and 40% to the government. So why is the government giving Marriott shares? Is it an advance for cash for the upcoming election? That's a good question we must ask. Is this an advance in cash for the upcoming elections? Let's just be clear, my straight dog family. This is not creative accounting. This is not visionary investment. This is not patriotism. It's the transfer of patrimony on terms that demand scrutiny at the highest level. Is this a campaign financing for Joe? Is this your campaign financing? $180 million. 725 CBI shares or units at US $250,000 per share. That's $181,250,000. Something is fishy in this. Land is not a spreadsheet entry. It is the inheritance of generations past and the birthright of generations yet to come. When private land is converted into the section rape or the sanctioned rape of the CBI under opaque arrangements, when valuation defies reason, when ordinary citizens are left asking basic questions that go unanswered, democracy itself is diminished. Who negotiated this deal? Who independently verified this valuation? Who ensured that the people receive fair and transparent value? And most importantly, who benefits? I ask, Terence Michael Jew, is this your campaign financing for the upcoming elections? The elections are due. The elections are nearby. We ask the question, this is fishy. This is stink. Because you're giving Marriott shares for a golf course that the government already owns. The government had 15 holes in that golf course. There was an arrangement in the agreement 60-40 rather. And we must ask whether this reflects with the land for passports, my straight dog family. Does this reflect genuine market reality? or whether it reflects manipulation dressed up as sophistication. Because shares can fluctuate, shares can be structured, shares can be concealed, but land, once transferred, the deal is done. This is not about opposing development, because development is necessary. Investment is always welcome. Growth is essential, but development without transparency is exploitation. Investment without accountability is corruption. Growth without fairness is theft by another name. And imagine this. You loaned Marriott $27 million. Didn't you remember this, Terrence Michael Joe?
$295 million were overspent beyond that which was approved by this very parliament. $295 million squandered away over and beyond what the limits of the parliament allow. That is what 2024 realize.
My straight talk family, forgive me for that mix-up. He loaned Marriott $27 million. This is what I wanted to expose as well.
That has accompanied the documents for this budget debate. I found it curious to learn that a loan of $27 million was made to aid in the stabilization and long-term viability of the largest hotel in the country. At the time when, if we listened to the presentations, the hotel sector is...
Speak again, arise and
I didn't even finish my point.
He doesn't have to, based on the rule.
Yeah.
I recognize the honourable member for St. Christopher 6.
Madam Speaker, again, the distinguished member opposite is making reference to a loan to the largest hotel in this country of some $27 million. And he's reading from a document. Please share the contents of what you're reading. What's the name of the document? What's the name of the hotel? You can't be making statements like those in this parliament.
You're not allowing me to finish, you interrupted me.
But you had gone on. And if you are misleading, the public must not hear negative things which are misleading things.
So before we proceed to the member for St. Christopher 7 responding, I need to make it clear that the rule that...
My straight talk family, I can't take that right now. And you can't take it either. But the point I want to make, as it was confirmed that Marriott borrowed an interest-free $27 million. So why this arrangement made? And Terrence Michael Jew did not take out his $27 million. Why? But my straight talk family, no government has the moral authority to dispose of national assets in a manner that leaves citizens confused, leaves citizens excluded and suspicious. Public assets demand public oversight. National land matters demand national consent. And any deal of this magnitude demands independent audit, parliamentary scrutiny, and full disclosure. But we don't have a public accounts committee because the leader of his Majesty's opposition is like a government backbencher, Mark Brantley. But if this transaction is legitimate, then open the books Open the books, we say. Publish the valuations. Reveal the agreements. Allow independent experts to examine the terms. Let sunlight do what secrecy refuses to do. Because when leaders treat patrimony as personal leverage, when they exchange acres for paper instruments at eye-watering valuations, they send a dangerous message that people's inheritance is negotiable. We reject that message. We demand transparency. We demand accountability. We demand integrity in public office. Anything to do with land in this nation is not a bargaining chip. It is not collateral for political ambition. It is sacred trust. And any government that forgets the truth, and that truth will be reminded peacefully, lawfully, and resolutely by a people who understand that sovereignty is not for sale. I reminded you that 51 years ago, in 1975, under the visionary leadership of Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw, our government took a bold step to reclaim our lands from private plantation owners and place them in public hands, breaking the centuries-old dominance of private estate ownership. This was more than legislation. It was justice for our people. A guarantee that the wealth of our soil would serve all and not just a privileged few. 54 years ago, he did it in Frigate Bay. Not with our passport program, as a passport is not a commodity, but a tangible expression of our independence and nationhood. Our passport does not belong to any individual government or individual politician to exploit for private gain. What Terence Michael Drew and his cabinet of experts has done is under the guise, my straight dog family, under the guise of acquiring Frigate Bay land, that they have sanctioned the rape of our CBI money. And that's my story tonight, my straight dog family, and I'm not going to change it. I tarried long because it's an important issue. And I want us to see it as an important issue, my straight dog family. Very important issue. Because elections are coming up. And something is suspicious about this. How can the government, I ask you, how can the government give Marriott shares for a golf course that the government already owns? The deal with Marriott get 60% from all fees to manage the golf course and 40% to the government. So why is the government giving Marriott shares, CBI shares? Is it an advance for cash for the upcoming elections? I'm going to open the lines, my straight dog family. It's 9:18. I'll entertain your calls and your emails. And I want to implore you, before I do so, to respect others. And of course, to do that, you must first respect yourselves. Let us try to be fair to all concerned, and let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. Let us ensure, my straight dog family, that the things that we say and or do will be beneficial to all concerned. And in the process of doing and or saying those things, let us strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. With that said, at 9:18, we go to the lines and say good night to our first caller. Caller, you are live. Hello, caller.
Good night, Mr. Liber.
Good night, my dear. How art thou?
I am great.
You always get in first, yes.
Highlight the timeless.
Highlight the timeless?
Yeah, timeless.
Okay.
Foundational value of land.
Mm-hmm.
As a lasting asset.
As a lasting asset.
A source of life.
Source of life.
And a vital resource worth protecting.
Vital resource worth protecting. A vital resource worth protecting.
Yeah, vital resource worth protecting. I repeat, highlight the timeless foundational value of land as a lasting asset, a source of life, and a vital resource worth protecting. Have a great evening.
Have a great evening as well. Always with your thought-provoking quotations. We look forward to them. And this one no different. Highlight the timeless, foundational value of land as a lasting asset, a source of life, and a vital resource worth protecting. We go back to the lines at 9:20. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller. How is the Bible man? You're up early tonight, so.
Because you shocked me.
I shock you? With what? No. What did I do you?
I did.
Yes, sir.
I work at FRIGATE Development Corporation.
Oh, yes, it is so for many.
I build a golf course.
Mm-hmm.
From 68, I began to work at FRIGATE Development Corporation.
Okay.
The mother catcher dig me. And now you're telling me that FRIGATE Development Corporation build a golf course, and you come telling me they give it a golf course?
Well, they didn't give it by the bite, but what must I say? They bought some land. Beg pardon?
25 years I work at FRIGATE Development Corporation, so I know what I'm saying, Mr. Patrick, and I ain't going to too long. But Lord, have mercy. What's going to happen to the generation to come? Then I got nothing to play on.
Good question, Bible man. Very good question. Yes.
You see, in a Bible word, but me want to know what's going on. That's the reason why I call so early. Because I want to know, maybe a golf course, and me road the green, land the green, and you come tell me this, you're shocking me tonight, Mr. Patrick.
Well, we know Straightforward always bring you the facts and the truth. I'm sorry it shocked you, but I have to tell you the truth. You know, and that is what happened.
Well, my God, have mercy. They are, by them people. I wonder whether I tell God. Hey, I wonder whether I tell the creator of the whole universe. They have to give an account. They think everything gonna go so. But you know I'm preaching. I'm going to have your phone patches.
Thank you very much, my brother.
Maybe I'll come back to the Bible later in the night.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Bible man. But
all right, see you.
Thank you, sir. But you see your screens. Drew told us this. As a matter of fact, he told us this.
There are some real achievements in procuring or getting this frigate land. Now, this agreement that we had to purchase and to acquire the frigate land brings 77.23 acres of prime frigate land into full state ownership, along with the golf course lands, the golf club house, and its operating company. So everything is now under the ownership of the government. So we know that there was an agreement with, of course, a company to manage the golf course, which is in association with Marriott. That agreement had part most of the golf course. The last 3 holes, that land that was in that agreement only accommodated 15 holes. The last 3 holes did not belong to the state. The last 3 holes to make it an 18-hole course was privately owned. We have now acquired that. So we have acquired a total of 77.23 acres of new prime land in Frigate Bay. And I was transparent with this, we bought all of this through our CBI program with less than 800 shares. So we got out of the agreement to get the golf course under our total control. We got 77 acres plus of prime land, including the golf course and the dome. And when I look at this and I think about the prison project, where 5,500 were used in our CBI program, where they call them units as shares, to build a prison. And with 1/7 of that, we were able to acquire the golf course out of the agreement, but that was an agreement which, was with the government. But the new land, 77 plus acres of some of the best land in St. Kitts and Nevis, including the dome and the golf house. One has...
My Straight Talk family, do not be distracted by this prison project. You've gone past that, and it's going on, and Terrence Drew signed over 20,000 certificates of registration. But we are confronted today with a transaction so staggering, so brazen, that it shakes the very foundation of public trust. 77.3 acres of land acquired. 77. And the compensation through 725 CBI shares, or investment units they call them. Why do you have to give a man shares to sell for land? And look at the compensation, my Straight Dog family. Simple mathematics. 725 CBI shares, priced at $250,000 per share, equals $181,250,000. And that's US dollars, my Straight Dog family. That's US dollars. That's US dollars, my Straight Dog family. So if we have to do the calculation, do the valuation of land per acre, that's $181 million divided by 77.3 equals $2.35 million, or $635 million per acre. If that ain't robbery, if that ain't thievery, if that ain't corruption, I don't know what is, my Straight Dog family. I don't know what is. Is this the campaign money for Dr. Drew? Elections is soon. Another ripoff, another scam in the Terrence Michael Drew cabinet. What is Garth Lucifer Wilkin doing and saying? Is he behind the scam? The biggest scam. And this is not creative accounting, my Straight Dog family. This is not visionary investment. This is not patriotism. It is a transfer of patrimony on terms that demand scrutiny at the highest level. Land is not a spreadsheet entry. It is the inheritance of generations past and the birthright of generations yet to come, my Straight Dog family. But I'll go to the lines. The lines are open, my Straight Dog family. Let me hear what you have to say. Let me make sure that my US line is open. I haven't checked it before I came on live, but I trust and hope it's functioning. It's not normally that quiet at this time, so let me check it for you, my Straight Dog family, and see if it is in fact functioning. But the lines are open, as I said, and this is another injustice on the people. Another injustice. Okay, yes, my lines are working, so fear not. let's try to get the emails disposed of as well. In the meanwhile, my Straight Talk family, I wait on your calls, but you understand what I have just presented. Robbery of the CBI money. Again, my Straight Talk family. Dear Patches, read this email. I am writing to express my shock and disappointment about the upcoming CARICOM meeting at the Marriott Hotel in St. Kitts. Come March the 4th. No, it's not March the 4th. It's the 27th of February. That's sometime next week. I think it's next week, Tuesday, to the 27th. I recently drove by the Frigate Bay area and realized that there were some decorations relating to the CARICOM meeting, and names of the countries would be represented, and I saw that Haiti's name is being mentioned in the decoration. Given Prime Minister Terence Drew's stance on not accepting deportees from Haiti, I find it hypocritical to welcome Haitian delegates to the meeting. I wonder how Terence Drew would feel facing them. I am sorry for him, and I think that he would be called out for his stance. I'm concerned about the message this sends. I would appreciate some clarity on this matter coming from an ardent and concerned citizen. Caller, thank you for holding your live. Hello, caller.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Patches. Good night. Good night to all the listeners.
Good night, sir.
And I was hoping that there wouldn't have been any more of these scam, robbery, bombshell. But I'm wondering what next. The countdown is on. Patches, let me elaborate on these deportees that our government probably in process of making a deal. Now, if our government is willing to take these deportees from wherever they are, and there should have been some kind of agreement, because we can't just accept these people without some kind of sustainable supporting. Our federation doesn't have that wealth to sustain these people, should they come. Now, is it more than just what the U.S. want to happen, or it is a quid pro quo? It have to be something for something. But I hope whatever it is, there is not a burden on the Federation, because right now, people are crying for support, and there are none. So we can't afford to support other people from other places. Now, having said that, I was made to understand that it is alleged that the Labour administration is offering or approving land for foreign nationals. They are neither resident nor citizens. But this is upcoming election. For instance, the Jamaicans and other people from other islands country. Is it a quid pro quo again? Vote for land. You get a piece of land if you vote for me. I hope it is an allege and it's not a fact. But I'm going to say to the people, if you are in the range and traveling down the vein of being bribed, take the land if you're being offered land, but don't vote for them. If it's money, take the money and don't vote for them neither. Put them out of power. It's a bribe, it's a scam, it's a setup, and it's treasonous. I will leave it right there. I have more, but I'll yield to others. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my dear brother, for your usual interesting interventions. This email reads, Patches, could you get Terence Michael Drew's attention to this headline? Ex-Prince Andrew seen for the first time since arrest, released after 11 hours in custody. The King of England clearly said when he was interviewed today, no one is above the law. Be careful, I would leave. Look out, reads this email. Why is CBI not citizenship by investment? Passports sold like a tray of mangoes. Why is our patrimony has been desecrated like this? It's troubling and concerns me, reads this other email. And this email reads, Good night, Patches. That was such a critical and informative presentation this evening. Thank you, I concur. May God always bless and guide you and your family. Most people are at work and school and can't always research and analyze these things. It's so sad we can't trust the politicians to do the job they were hired to do. And when they speak, we can't believe them. Worse, they are doing us harm. That was a very good point about our descendants. We are making a mess for them to clean up and endangering their freedom, dignity, sovereignty, and wealth so that we can live comfortable lives. It is very important to be concerned about what's happening. Thanks a lot. From a fellow Kititian, reads this email. And if you have joined me belatedly, my Straight Talk family, we look specifically, our thesis was on this Frigate Bay land development. And it brought out the hypocrisy of our leader and Prime Minister Terence Michael Drew. And Drew told us this during the Parliament, and he repeated it at his quote-unquote round table. He said this.
There are some real achievements in procuring or getting this Frigate Bay land. Now, this agreement that we had to purchase and to acquire the Frigate Bay land brings 77.23 acres of prime Frigate Bay land into full state ownership, along with the golf course lands, the golf club house, and its operating company. So everything is now under the ownership of the government. So we know that there was an agreement with, of course, a company to manage the golf course, which is in association with Marriott. That agreement had part most of the golf course. The last 3 holes, that land that was in that agreement only accommodated 15 holes. The last 3 holes did not belong to the state. The last 3 holes to make it an 18-hole course was privately owned. We have now acquired that. So we have acquired a total of 77.23 acres of new prime land in Frigate Bay.
At almost $2 million US per acre. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Yeah, Patches, good. Yeah, Patches, good evening, man. How you doing tonight, man?
I am peaceful, my brother. Yourself?
Yeah, pretty good. Let me ask you a quick question. These deportees that's coming down from the USA, right? How does the USA decide, or how this scenario comes up that a man can't go back to the country where he was born, where he's from? How these people end up to be third country or third party deportees? You're from St. Kitts and you get caught up in some BS in the USA. From when? Who decided that you can't go back to St. Kitts, where you from? Let me move past that. The land that Drew is referencing, right? Who is he acquiring this land back from? Frigate Bay Corporation?
Can you clarify? I don't know if I think you may. I don't know if you said it before, but
The land belongs
that
to
land?
the original golf course.
Who's
Bear me up, please. The original golf course of 15 holes, I think it's 800. Don't remember the acreage. Is belonging to the Frigate Bay Development Corporation. There was an agreement, a 20-year lease agreement with the what's this firm? With Royal, a company established by the Marriott Hotel, and they owned 3 holes. They owned 3 holes, which Drew said he paid for, and they owned some land as well, just overlooking the Half Moon Bay, which he also paid for, and shares, also a clubhouse and the old dome, that old like a big tent over in the corner. And he exchanged it for some 725 units or shares. But each share under the PBO values $250,000. And when you do the calculation, the Marriott would have had that if you put that into money, those shares into money, you get some 181 million US dollars. You do the mathematics, my brother. 180.
So Patches, let me ask.
Yes, sorry, go ahead.
So Patches, let me ask you a question, right? So the Marriott is involved with this stuff. That's number one. And there's a third party company in between there, like a middleman.
No, there was the Marriott had established a company, and they signed a lease way back. Bear me out. A lease way back that run the golf course for 20 years under Denzel Douglas. I think it was. Sorry, go ahead.
So the Marriott is involved, and that company that they established to run the golf course is involved.
The Marriott owned the company.
Stuff is real fishy, man. Believe it or not.
The Marriott owned the company.
Yeah, because remember there was a mention of a 27 million
loan, right?
Interest free.
Yes.
Interest free.
Right.
I mean, this stuff is like the transparency is not there at all. But what I'm saying is all of these extra parties or entities that's involved, man, it breeds corruption.
Of course.
But let me just make another point here, right? The shares that the government is planning out, right? Why is they going back to that when is this an investment now, or is this a company returning lands or giving up lands or making a deal to give up lands? I mean, that's not an investment. That's not an investment, is it?
There was an agreement back in, I think it's 2003 or 2002, something about that, under Douglas administration, over 20 years ago, giving Marriott and its affiliated entity, I think it was called the Frigate Bay Golf Limited, they extended the course from 15 holes to 18 holes. The 15 holes, the land that on which the 15 holes were, belonged to the Frigate Bay Development Corporation and never changed hands. This additional 3 holes, the land for the additional 3 holes that were added belonged to the Marriott or to Vic Dizen, I think it was, to be correct. So the company was set up and it had a 60-40 arrangement in terms of shares. So the Marriott had stopped, they said they were losing money and had stopped paying the workers some years ago, since there were negotiations since by 2016 or something around there. Ironically, the Attorney General's firm, the firm at which he worked, was the firm that was the law firm that was negotiated on behalf or representing the government, representing the Frigate Bay Development Corporation. His uncle then was the chairman of the Frigate Bay Development Corporation. So what Drew has now gone in and some suspicious arrangement he's making and trying to misguide us about prison. What the hell the prison has to do with this? Nothing. He must give us the valuation of the land. What was the value for the land? And
so, Patches, let me ask a question real quick and then get off. So the original arrangement, Shears was involved with the original arrangement or not involved. If he was not involved at the original arrangement, why has it gone to CBI Shears now? When the land is being
it hasn't gone to CBI Shears to pay out Marriott for the shares in the company and for the golf house or clubhouse, for the dome and the land they have, the land that on which the 3 holes are situated, and some land on just under Half Moon Bay. They have paid them not with cash but with shares. CBI shares had nothing to do with the company.
But the company now, they're going to profit off of them shares, though.
They're going to what?
The company now is going to profit off of them shares, though.
Of course.
Okay, that's my point that I'm coming. That's the point that I'm coming to. All right, and I'll leave it there and let somebody else come in. I'll come back later. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much. Of course, they'll profit off the shares. I mean, we just put up on monitors how much they will profit. One share is valued at $250,000 per unit. And how it became a public benefit option, heaven knows, right? Drew said, he didn't tell us what the amount was. All he told us was under 800 shares. What we found out doing our research was 725 shares. And 725 shares, do the maths, at $250,000 per share. That's $181 million US dollars. That's what it is, my brother. 181 million US dollars. How much EC is that? Maths is my strongest weak point. So help me there somebody. 181 million US dollars. That runs at 488 million EC dollars. Round it off, 489 million US dollars. That's what Marriott would get from the shares when they are sold. What they're selling their shares for, we don't know. Perhaps they're into their vacation homes and doing their own expansion over there at Marriott. And this is the lack of transparency we get from Drew. So what has happened? The company was set up, just to complete that, and as part of that, Marriott would have been responsible for the maintenance of the golf course, for staffing, for marketing to the resort guests, and potentially certain capital investments. There was one capital investment that was the golf club house. And, well, they built a prefab structure there called the Dome. Big, like a big tent over there. How much it values, we don't know. But even if we say, well, the Dome, the golf club, and the lands were 81 or even $100 million. $100 million US dollars. That still leaves 200 or 135, another $100 million for the land. How land gets so expensive? Hear me. I told you all that elections are due. And Drew has already negotiated his campaign financing. I bet you. You want to bet me? Say you heard it first here on Straight Talk, my family. It's 9:49. We are still taking your calls, my Straight Talk family. Every time you look around, there's some skullduggery, some thieving going on. What is going to happen to our country if these people stay in office much longer. Too much thieving going on, too much corruption, rip-off, scams. And this has to stop. We have to stop it, my Straight Dog family. I'm depending on you. Next time around, please let us stop this. This can't go on forever. If Jew tell you walk, run. Run as fast as you can. He comes and he tells us these things like this, my Straight Dog family. He comes and he tells us, for example, about 49 acres of land. Here's what he said.
What is this going to do? We intend there will be a 47.97 acre parcel. We will use some of that, subdivide it into residential and commercial lots with a clear focus on providing young citizens access to land ownership. So this move is to get our people to be able to build in Frigate Bay. So I want our people to understand that we are going to create this scenario. What we want to do is break down barriers and any issue that people might raise with respect to. Over here is for a certain set of people and over there for a next set. We are eliminating that, and we'll make lots available for our ordinary people here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So if you have a young professional, doesn't matter which part of the country they may come from, they have the opportunity to own land in Frigate Bay, prime land that we have acquired and we will make available.
But that land is not even in Frigate Bay, my Straight Dog family. That land is not in Frigate Bay. Those 49 acres are not in Frigate Bay. They are at Earle and Boardwalk Heights. So, Jew, lies like when a horse is trotting, my Straight Dog family. Lies like when horse are trot, as we say. And we have to stop this man. We have to stop him and stop him whenever we get that opportunity. And I trust we'll get that opportunity soon, my Straight Dog family. Because he's no good. He's no good for this country. And we have to ensure that we stop this bunch of ragamuffins. We have to, my Straight Dog family. We have to stop him, my Straight Dog family. I was trying to get my email up and running, my Straight Dog family, and believe me, I am I do apologize for that. I've lost my email contact here. I trust that I would be up and running before we go my Straight Dog family. But yes, my Straight Dog family, tonight, as I said, we looked at this Frigate Bay land issue that the Jew spoke about. He told us this.
And I was transparent with this, we bought all of this through our CBI program with less than 800 shares. So we got out of the agreement to get the golf course under our total control. We got 77 acres plus of prime land, including the golf course and the dome. And when I look at this and I think about the prison project, where 5,500 were used in our CBI program, where they call them units as shares, to build a prison. And with 1/7 of that, we were able to acquire the golf course out of the agreement, but that was an agreement which, was with the government. But the new land, 77 plus acres of some of the best land in St. Kitts and Nevis, including the dome and the golf house.
And he must tell us, 77.3 acres. Prime land, yes. It costs in terms of CBI shares, almost $200 $100 million US. Highway robbery. Highway robbery, my straight dog family. And as I said, the other parcel of 47.9 acres is not, underlined, not situated on the Gulf Coast. Not. And my straight dog family, the lease or management period ended for those who are perhaps not clear. The Denzel Douglas administration, I think in 2002 or 2003, over 20 years ago, entered into a long-term lease/operating agreement, which gave Marriott or its affiliated entity, the Frigate Bay Gulf Limited, gave them the rights to manage and operate the Royal St. Kitts Golf Course as part of the resort amenities. As part of that lease operating agreement, the Marriott would have been responsible for course maintenance, staffing, marketing to resort guests, and potentially certain capital investments, which they did. They built a golf clubhouse. They put down a dome, a prefab big tent, I call it. But due for reasons unknown, attempts each time to mislead us. The Frigate Bay Development Corporation and the government by extension retained the underlying land ownership for the golf course, never parted ownership of the 15-hole golf course. With the agreement, structured to support broader tourism infrastructure and economic growth. For my street dog family, this 77.23 acres of land acquired along with the golf clubhouse and its operating company comprised of 16.1 acres that included the 3 northern holes of the golf course adjacent to the Koi Hotel. That's there in your background. And 13.16 acres of vacant land west of the course, overlooking Half Moon Bay, my straight dog family. That's the other side. West of the coast, overlooking Half Moon Bay, that too was privately owned. The other parcel of land, some 47.97 acres. I did not get the time to get that up for you. But when you're driving up the Frigate Bay Road or coming from Frigate Bay, when you pass that Skelec, what's they call it? The Skelec substation on the Frigate Bay Road, going before you meet the first roundabout, or after you pass the first roundabout coming down to your left, there's a substation and there's some land inside there like a quarry, and all that hillside land, that's where the 47.9 acres are situated. Not on the golf course. They're on Frigate Bay Road going over to Earle and the Bird Rock Heights. So when Drew spoke about breaking down barriers, he is creating barriers for anyone inside here. The lease and our management period ended, and all of a sudden, he bought back the land, he bought the lands and bought out the shares of the company, and he told us this.
And I was transparent with this, we bought all of this through our CBI program with less than 800 shares. So we got out of the agreement to get the golf course under our total control we got 77 acres plus of prime land, including the golf course and the dome. And when I look at this and I think about the prison project, where 5,500 were used in our CBI program, where they call them units as shares, to build a prison. And with 1/7 of that, 1/7 of that, we were able to acquire the golf course out of the agreement, but that was an agreement which, was with the government. But the new land, 77 plus acres of some of the best land in St. Kitts and Nevis, including the dome and the golf house. One has
77.3 acres. My straight dog fan. But let's go back to the lines as we wind down tonight's program. And caller, you are live. Hello, caller.
Good evening, Achille.
Good evening, my dear.
How are you?
How are you? How are you? This the dimple lady. I haven't heard you or seen you for a while. Are you okay?
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Okay, good to hear you. Yes.
Yes, man. Yes, you can hear me. I make you understand that the stamp, what we buy to put in our passport, $100. Remember, it's to something for the stamp.
$250. For
the stamp then. $250. Well, I bet you understand that King Liar and the snake is on top the stamp. I need to understand. I know that yet, but I will like you please to check it out for me, please.
That'll be interesting.
The two of them. I would like to know what the two of them do in a St. Kitts and Nevis for them that suppose them the contact stamp. So it seems to me like when you tell lies and do things, then you get up there, you get up top. Because the ain't see them do nothing for them to be on top the stamp. I didn't want to take out my passport, but you look like I have to leave it because then they stamp, then go in my passport. I'm sorry.
No, but they don't put the stamp in your passport though.
My God.
They don't put the stamp in your passport. They just
they don't put it in.
No, I think it's just on the application form there.
On the form they put it.
Yeah, I don't recall that the stamp is in your passport. I'll have to check that. I don't think so.
Please check it.
I don't think
check it out for me.
Recall having a stamp in your passport. Stamps in
your passport. Yeah, yes. But I need to understand though, and I would like to know what they do to get them they pant up the stamp or going in your passport. Too many wrong things going on in this place, and you have some people sitting down relaxing, straight to talk, and when you talk, they vex with you. You mustn't say nothing. But nobody gonna boil me out. I'm sorry. They ain't boiling me. When I see wrong, I speak it.
Yes.
And when I see right, I talk it.
Sure. That's how it's supposed to be, my dear. Yeah.
Oh yes, nobody is going to boil me out. Yep. So I'm sorry. Me for sale.
Okay.
You have a pleasant night.
Have yourself a
and you will hear me from there on.
Yes. It's good. Look forward to hearing you, my dear. Always good to hear you.
Oh yes, I was just relaxing.
Okay, my dear. Okay. Have yourself a wonderful night. Yes.
You too. Right.
Stamps in the passport. That one's stumped me there. But my straight talk family, Drew had given the loan to Marriott for some $27 million. Remember?
In the report that has accompanied the documents for this budget debate, I found it curious to learn that a loan of $27 million was made to aid in the stabilization and long-term viability of the largest hotel in the country. At the time when, if we listened to the presentations, the hotel sector is...
And my Straight Talk family, yes, we found out, having listened to the point of order raised by the senior minister, how he didn't know that Marriott got a $27 million loan. But why didn't, in this arrangement, they deducted the $27 million? Why should Marriott still owe? And you have given them 725 shares or investment units. My Straight Talk family, this is a total misuse and abuse, or rather the illegal use of the CBI. Instead of compensation being paid to the Royal Senkers group of companies for acquiring 77.23 acres of land, a deal, very strange deal, very suspicious deal, structured through the issuance of 725 public benefit units under the CBI program. And when you do that calculation, my Straight Talk family, 725 CBI shares or units that are legally priced at US $250,000 per share or per unit equals 181 million US dollars. So if you do the valuation of land per acre, it's over $2.3 million. Something my Straight Talk family is fishy about this. Fishy, fishy, fishy. My Straight Talk family, as we wind down, tonight's programming, these 725 CBI shares, and we need to know if we are going to be transparent, Mr. Chairman of the CIU or the Board of Governors. You need to tell us how many shares were issued to the public benefactor for the Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw Airport expansion. How many shares were issued to that public benefactor for the Barnstable High School development? And how many shares were issued for the Creative Arts Center? We know how many were issued for the social housing. I think it was 1,500 shares. I'll stand to be corrected. But this PBO, which is a contribution-based model, while it is a unit of a project, it is primarily the mechanism used to fund the compensation for 77.3 acres of land acquired according to the Prime Minister. And my Straight Talk family, questions are asked, for example, is citizenship sold that should ever be sold? Is citizenship something, rather, that should ever be sold? Because traditionally, citizenship is tied to birth, long-term residence and integration, shared history, culture, and civic participation. And when citizenship is granted primarily for capital contribution, it becomes a market good. And this raises the concern that wealth becomes a shortcut to belonging. The ethical question becomes, is it morally acceptable for financial capacity to replace integration, cultural connection, or contribution to labor and civic life? Mark wants 10,000 units. That's over $3 billion. You just gave 725 units. That's 181 million US dollars. My Straight Dog family, you spoke about transparency. Well, what about valuation transparency? Because the questions arise. Was the 77.3 acres independently valued? Was the valuation consistent with market rates? Were the 725 shares issued at a fair and documented basis? Today we are confronted with a transaction so staggering, so brazen, that it shakes the very foundation of public trust. 77.3 acres of private land, my Straight Dog family, paid for through the CBI. My Straight Dog family, let's just be clear. This is not creative accounting that you see on your screen. This is not visionary investment. This is not visionary, this is not patriotism. It is a transfer of patrimony on terms that demand scrutiny at the highest level. My Straight Dog family, who negotiated this deal? Was it Lucifer? Who independently verified this evaluation, this valuation? Who ensured that the people received fair and transparent value? I asked the question earlier, my Straight Dog family, a straightforward question. And I'm going to leave this for Terrence July tonight, my Straight Dog family. July must tell us, how can the government give Marriott shares for a golf course that the government already owns? The deal with Marriott got 60% from all fees to manage the golf course, and 40% went to the Frigate Bay Development Corporation. So why? Why is the government giving Marriott shares, CBI shares? Is it an advance for the cash for the upcoming general elections? My Straight Dog family, these are serious questions. If this transaction is legitimate, then open the books, publish the evaluations, reveal the agreements, allow independent experts to examine the terms. Let sunlight do what secrecy refuses to do. Because when leaders treat patrimony as personal leverage, when they exchange acres for paper instruments at eye-watering valuations, they send a dangerous message that the people's inheritance is negotiable. We reject that message. We demand transparency. We demand accountability. We demand integrity in public office. And my Straight Dog family, as we wind down tonight's programming, our passport does not belong to any individual government or the individual politician to exploit for private gain. What Terence Michael Drew and his cabinet of experts have done, under the guise of acquiring Frigate Bay land, they have sanctioned the rape and thieving of our CBI money. And that's my story tonight, and I'm not going to change it. I leave you with our quotation tonight, my Straight Talk family. The winners are those who learn to take full responsibility for their actions. The losers are those who blame others for their failure. Caller, I'm going to only give you 10 seconds. I can't afford any more. Can you use it?
Are those who blame others for their failure.
Are you there, caller?
Caller, I'm going to only give you 10 seconds. I can't afford any more.
Okay. Well, that's the way we're going to end it, my Straight Talk family. That's my story tonight, and I am not going to change it. I'm going to thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight. Tonight, as always, I'm going to thank you, the callers, the many viewers, those who send emails, my Straight Talk family, those who just listen. Remember, Mr. Patches reads this email. Why are we comparing the number of shares? The number of shares, be it for prison or golf course. There should be no units sold at all. It's the same evil. Have a good night, reads this email. What developments could be done to a golf course? What part of this is for housing, commercial, etc.? Reads this other email. Good night, Mr. Liebert. Tell me who young person will be able to buy these lands. Will it be the junior minister who paid off for student loans? And my friend in Nevis want to know, why do you want to remove 113 from the Constitution? And that's where we're going to end it, my Straight Talk family. And I want to thank you for your participation tonight. Remember, you are the ones who make Straight Talk. And for that reason, I say a big, big thank you. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Remember, come Sunday, go to church. Do your chores, yes. I go to church. If you don't have a church, come to the Zion Moravian Church. We have lots of room. We always welcome you. And my Straight Talk family, whatever you do, remember that whatever your mind conceive, you got to achieve. But first of all, you must believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Straight Talk family, keep moving on. Bye-bye. Until we connect on Monday, have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye. My Straight Talk family, keep moving on.
The morning, I thank God for the morning light. Give Him thanks and praises for taking me